In this video, I'm going to tell you all about one of the best Tampa neighborhoods to live in, the Brandon-Valrico area. Hey everyone, thank you for being here today. My name is Amy Smith. I'm a realtor here in Tampa, Florida. And today I'm going to give you an honest review of the Brandon-Valrico area and tell you why I think it's one of the best Tampa neighborhoods. And it'll be a realtor's honest review and a resident's honest review because I live here in Valrico. So first of all, this area often gets referred to as the Brandon-Valrico area. It is two separate towns and we smush it together because in reality they are smushed together. It's two highly populated suburban areas right next to Tampa, and it's very residential, but there's also tons of other things which I'm going to tell you in a minute. Brandon is closer into Tampa and Valrico is slightly more to the east, and it's smaller. All told, I think the population is somewhere between 150 and 180,000, so it's pretty big. So let's jump right into the pros, the good about the Brandon-Valrico area. One of the best things about this area is its location. So it's very close to Tampa. In fact, Brandon is right next to Tampa, which means that if you are in Brandon and you need to get to downtown Tampa for some reason, it might only be 8 or 10 miles from there. Super easy location. From my house in Valrico to, say, the Florida Aquarium downtown is only 15 miles. Pretty great. That proximity also gives us very easy access as residents to all the great things that Tampa has. And I could make a whole separate video about all the fun things, cool things, dining, shopping, museums, sports teams that are in Tampa that you will really love. And family who want to come visit you if you live here will also really love. Another thing about its location, about the Brandon-Valrico area, it's not just its proximity to Tampa, but its proximity to Orlando. So of course you think Orlando, that's theme parks. Lots of people who live here have season passes to Disney or Universal, and not to mention that right in Tampa we have our own great theme park, Busch Gardens. This great location is good for another thing that we don't have, well, almost entirely. So you know, one thing about Florida is that sometimes we have hurricanes. That's reality. And what is really nice about the Brandon-Valrico area is that most of it is not in an evacuation zone. So for example, 4 years ago, not long after we first moved here, there was a hurricane and we were able to stay in our home and we could just watch in horror on the news at the Interstate 75, packed with people who had to evacuate. So it's so nice to know you don't have to get in that, you can ride out the storm safely in your own home. So not only are we super close to Tampa and all the great amenities that affords us here in the Brandon-Valrico area, we also have our own great amenities. So that's the second thing. Because there are so many people there, we do have our own great healthcare, dining, shopping, even entertainment. We have Topgolf, and right here in the area. It's super close. You don't have to go into Tampa for really anything. In fact, here in the Brandon-Valrico area, it's a very diverse area. So we have tons of very interesting small markets and restaurants. Of course, I should mention healthcare. We have our own top-notch, world-class healthcare right here in the area. So it's a great place not only for young families starting out, but also for retirees. That brings us to the third, and to me, the most important good thing about the Brandon-Valrico area, and that is its average home price. So home prices, as you know, it's expensive. It's Florida. Tampa is not super cheap when it comes to housing. It's not the most expensive place in Florida, that's for sure. But for me and my family, that was the deciding factor. There are a ton of great neighborhoods in the Tampa area, and I'm going to be highlighting those here. But for us, we could get the most bang for our buck right here in Valrico. So let me give you just a quick example. I did a very informal research of my own, but just to show you what I already knew to be true. I looked at houses between 1,800 and 2,000 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths here in the Brandon-Valrico area, and what was listed yesterday when I looked at this information, the average of those size homes with those amenities was $320,000. So that same home, I did the same thing of houses that are currently listed in Tampa, and it was $390,000. So that's just, it proves what you already probably know also, that the closer in and in the metro area, the housing is much more expensive. We're going to talk about the cons about the Brandon-Valrico area right now. Okay, so the first negative, the first con about the Brandon-Valrico area is very hard for me to put into words. Because what I want to say is that the very first thing that I noticed and that is not the best about this area is that sometimes it's just not pretty. I will not say it's ugly, because it isn't. There are many places with beautiful palm tree lined streets and beautiful homes and parks and walking trails, but then we have something quite different. I mentioned earlier that it's a very diverse area, so that means there are a lot of rich people and a lot of very poor people. Sometimes there is housing that you couldn't imagine that people would actually be able to live in, a dilapidated old trailer. And a very quirky thing about the area also is that it might be this trailer right next to $1 million house. So the second con, the second thing that many people won't like about the area, the Brandon-Valrico area, is that it is almost entirely subdivisions when it comes to housing. So sometimes I have a client who says, no, I can't do it. I can't live that close to people. I don't want any HOAs, no CDDs. I can't live in a neighborhood. Then finding a house in the Brandon-Valrico area is going to be pretty tough. Not impossible, certainly. And it's kind of a big draw for houses in this area, that if it's not in a subdivision, that appeals to many people. Personally, I don't mind a subdivision. It has its benefits. But if you are someone who wants a sprawling yard and you don't want to be so close to your neighbors, this is not the area for you. Okay, the third and by far the biggest con of the entire area, and if you live in Tampa, it's not a Brandon-Valrico problem, it's a Tampa problem, and you probably already know what it is. Yep, it's traffic. So the traffic here can be a nightmare. It's really terrible. I don't live in Brandon, I live in Valrico, but I work and I shop in the area, and you have to be very careful where you go and at what time of day. Well, despite the traffic, I hope you can see how much I really do think that the Brandon-Valrico area is one of Tampa's best neighborhoods to live in. Clearly I do, because I live here. If you have any questions about it, please don't hesitate to ask me a question, reach out to me. It would mean a lot to me also if you would like this video, subscribe, and I'm going to be telling you this kind of insider information about all the neighborhoods in Tampa. See you next time. Thanks.